There are many companies today that have planting technology that allows you to not only change the population of whatever you're planting as you cross the field, but also to change varieties as you cross the field. So we get a lot of questions about, well, is it worth it or not? We want to talk about that today.
There's several moving parts here that you need to understand. First is the varieties or hybrids that you could plant on your farm. You really need to understand them. Which ones do better in high fertility situations? Which ones can handle that tough ground a little bit better? Oftentimes those racehorse type varieties can do great in the highly productive ground, but if there's some stress, they really struggle. So you need to find that workhorse variety or hybrid to be able to do this back and forth of, hey, in my good parts I can do this, my poorer parts of the farm I can do this.
All right, Darren, makes it sound so easy. Unfortunately, it's not easy at all. Here's the biggest problem that I see right now that all seed companies have. The varieties are coming so fast. It sounds good because we're getting higher yielding varieties every year and the yield increases keep going up at a faster rate than ever. But the problem is, how much do we really know about any of these varieties? Because they're only out a year or two and then the seed company dumps them for something better. Well, you haven't had a chance to test them in that poor ground, in that sandy ground, in that drought year. I mean, there's just not enough time. So you've got to really trust your seed dealer, number one. And number two, you want to look at certain characteristics of your ground to make specific choices.
This technology is not just for corn farmers or for wheat farmers. You can do it with most any crop. You just need to have a multi-compartment planter or drill. So let's just say, as Bryans' example, you're going to just say, I've got two different varieties I want to put in the field. That's it. That's all I'm ever going to do, just a good ground one and a poor ground one. That's all I need. Great. You just need something with two compartments. If you want to do more than that, if you say, wow, I've really got several different distinct zones here where I've got three different varieties I want, well, then you need a 3-compartment drill or planter to make that happen.
So in our operation, we've got a Case IH planter that has precision planting technology on there that allows us to have two varieties in corn. With soybeans, we've got a drill, and same thing with wheat, our soybean and wheat drill. Yeah, the drill is the same, but it's just we've got two compartments in our air cart that we're pulling behind. So it can shut off, and this can all be done automatically, you know, shutting off the one variety, turning on the other variety, and pumping that through. So the big thing that we wanted to encourage you to do today is, if you've got situations like this, take a look at what that technology is out there. And I realize that a lot of people are not buying equipment today, but boy, if you can get something that has better technology that allows you to increase your yield across the farm, that's something you have to be interested in.
And you've certainly got some time right now to take a look at yield maps from your previous harvest and see, hey, here's my favorite variety. Let's look at what it did within different zones in the field and see, you know what, in this type of soil it did great, in this other type it didn't. And then every year you really need to be doing some testing on your farm. Like Brian said, these varieties and hybrids are coming so fast nowadays. It's not like you're only going to see them for 1 year and they're done. In many cases, you'll get at least a 2 or 3 year run with a variety.
Yep, and that's where I disagree. That's where I'm going to disagree with Darren. It's really tough to do this trial work. I love doing the trial work too, and we do some. But it's really hard because a lot of times the companies dump it the very next year. So that's one of the biggest challenges with doing this.
But you can't just make excuses, Brian. You have to take control of what you can control. So you do some trial work every year on your farm with various populations and various varieties on a small scale. And then you say, you know what? I figured out this number is my best for the best ground, and this number is my one I can just go to in any type of soil. Then you use those on a majority of your acres next year, and then you start into your trial program again with the new ones that are coming out.
All right, I'm probably not going to do that on my farm, but there are a lot of people that do. Now, the population thing, absolutely, that's something you got to be testing all the time. We do it on our farm too, populations with soybeans, populations with wheat, populations with corn, and try to find the sweet spot, because you know your ground better than anybody, and you know you've got some fields that, the soil's a little lighter, some fields soil's a little heavier, more productive, so maybe you need to be varying that population, and we've got it on our farm too, and a lot of farmers do across the country, where you can vary the population as you go across the field. And this is something not only for, it's just the more productive ground gets the higher population, it's also like iron deficiency chlorosis. What we found is, if you bump your populations in IDC ground, in that high pH ground, we've gotten some yield response there too. So that's absolutely something you can test with a number of different varieties. Just look at different populations.
Varying variety and population out in your field can certainly pay you some dividends. So can controlling our weed of the week. We'll show you how to stop this tough weed later in the show.